Hey, I'm James Thornock. Welcome to the Coder Kids podcast, where we decrypt technology. We make sense of it all, and we talk about education a lot as well. So today on the podcast, we have a special guest. Her name is Lucy Plotner. She is a homeschooling podcaster, the host of the Homeschool Biscuit podcast, and the founder of homeschoolburrito.com. Welcome to the program, Lucy.
Hey James, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was definitely listening to your podcast pretty recently. You're definitely a smart lady. I am very interested in the conversation that we're going to have today. And I think we're probably going to focus on the intersection of technology and education, particularly as it relates to homeschool and what that's like. So I'd love to hear about your background. Typically a question that we ask guests is, how did you get interested in technology? But I want to ask you, what got you interested in starting a podcast? What
Yeah,
possessed
it's
you?
a good question. So it was last year in
Okay.
August. So my
Okay.
dad had always been into, technology. He's libertarian, so he followed this guy who had a book called Five Paths to an Online Income,
Okay.
earning money online.
Yeah,
And since, everyone, because of COVID, everyone's inside,
for
not really
sure.
doing anything. So he's like, here's this pamphlet. And one of the ways was starting a podcast. So I
Okay.
thought, I've got something to share with the world that a lot of people don't know about, which is homeschooling,
Okay.
which I've been doing for my whole life. I'm 15, so
Okay.
a long time. But
Since
yeah,
you're
that's
a
basically
knee-high to a grasshopper.
about,
Great.
yeah. So basically, been it's basically just what got me interested in doing the podcast.
Okay.
Going ever since.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, there's definitely, we had, what's it? Pocket Homeschool on the program last time. Um, Last time we had someone on to talk about homeschooling, and she's someone out there who's doing curriculum and stuff. Not to plug her too much, but shout out to her. But yeah, I think what interested me in you was like, hey, you're actually a student that can speak for
Yeah,
herself, and so yeah, that's what we're here to hear, which is what your actual experience is. So
yeah.
I actually, I don't think you know this. I was actually homeschooled for a number of grades, but I definitely started in the public school education system. So, what can you kind of explain homeschooling at a top level to an outsider who's kind of done public school in their own lives?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So the type of homeschooling we do is like, so we have a class day once a week
Mm-hmm.
we go to. So, yeah, we basically just go there to just review what we've learned during the week, and mostly the program we do for the first couple years. It's just kind of like a side to the curriculum you would already do. So
Okay.
your parent, whoever's homeschooling you, would pick out a curriculum, and then the program we do would go alongside that, teach you some other stuff. And then once you get to junior high and high school, then it basically becomes your full schooling. So it's basically gets harder once you hit seventh grade, but it's
Okay.
I feel like it's not too much different from public school. I mean, I would still wake up pretty early in the morning, work all morning, and then maybe a little bit after lunch, and then get out. And the only difference is I'm just doing it all at home.
Okay. Yeah. So you're saying a lot of the curriculum, not all of it, but is somewhat similar, but the format is a little bit different for you, you'd say.
Yeah, yeah,
So I also listened to your podcast on top 7 reasons why I guess you like
yeah, yeah.
homeschool, why it's interesting. Um, Now I guess you can't explain from your parents' perspective, right? Faith and I'm not sure who your father's name is, but what benefits do you think there would be to them, and that might be a little
Well,
bit different than your
yeah, yeah,
perspective?
sure. First off, they get to see their kids a lot
Mm-hmm.
because now because of COVID, my dad now works from home
Okay.
in
Yeah.
his office, and so every day he he comes out and he takes breaks, and he gets to see us. And normally he'd be gone for like 8 or 9 hours a day, wouldn't be able
Wow.
to see us. And for my mom, of course, she's the main parent who homeschools us, so
Okay.
she gets to have a hand in her kids' education. She teaches them, and she knows exactly what they're learning. So, it's much easier as a parent when you know what your kids are being taught.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I can hear some birds in the background. That's fun. Yeah, no, absolutely. Uh, Togetherness is a big reason, and I think, yeah, I think a lot of parents will cry when they drop their kids off at kindergarten, first day, for public school. I think there's like a decent reason for that, Part of it's pride,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, they're like finally entering school, and then part of it's like, man, I'm gonna miss you. What am I gonna do with myself for the
Yeah.
next couple of hours? But yeah, I think you're right. Definitely togetherness. One of the things you mentioned was curriculum, right? That you can kind of select your
Yeah.
own curriculum or set of curricula, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to
So
do you want to go into that?
the program we do is called Classical Conversations. So it's like this kind of just the first couple years you're just learning the foundations, the basics of stuff, and then once you get to junior high, then they give you this full. They give you all these suggestions of curriculum to do, and then you just go along with that through high school. So that's basically what it is, what the curriculum we do.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Well, I think I would like to touch on your experience with technology and kind of get into that and what you
Yeah.
think. Well, actually, before that, I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. We've seen a lot of parents exiting the public school system, and then this totally depends. Some are sticking with public school. Also, totally depends on what school
Yeah.
district you're in. Quality varies all throughout the nation.
Yeah.
But for those parents who are potentially thinking about leaving the public school system and they're considering charter schools or private schools or homeschooling, um, what do you think is going to happen in the future? Do you think homeschooling is just going to be a bigger and bigger choice that parents are choosing, or what do you think is going to happen?
I feel like it has been getting bigger because so
Mm,
many kids this past year staying at home, and their parents have had to like basically homeschool them with all the online schooling. So I think
yeah.
it'll probably just keep getting bigger and a more viable option for parents because you don't have to be smart to be your kid's teacher. You don't for the most part, your curriculum can teach your kids, so you don't ever have to think that you're not good enough to homeschool your kid.
No shade thrown to Faith. She's a very smart lady, right?
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, the curriculum really, really matters quite a bit, and
Exactly.
what
Yeah.
what tutors you are. I'm curious to know what have you ever taken like private lessons, whether it be for piano or math or anything like that? Um, Maybe something that's not you wouldn't think of as curriculum, but maybe any kind of like private tutoring. You experienced any of that?
I actually have not. I've never had like a music teacher or anything. I do play
Mm-hmm.
the guitar, but I taught myself to play that.
Okay.
And for school, no, I never really had a private tutor for anything. I never really had as much trouble as so that I would need a tutor or anything like that.
Gotcha. Well, that's interesting because, here at Coder Kids, we obviously offer private tutoring in coding. And so we actually see homeschooled students and, well, parents of the homeschoolers really reaching out and asking for private tutoring to help out, where
Yeah.
there might be a gap in learning or maybe in the curricula that are available there. So I think that's something definitely we advocate for. I get paid for it, so I'm definitely biased on that front. But we see that education can be flexible, and it's really important to go to the people who know their stuff. And if you can learn it on your own, like fantastic. And there are a lot of free resources out there. But sometimes to get something like a private tutor can definitely be useful, especially in the context of getting a mentor, through something. So, gosh, I have so many questions for you. One is, what does technology look like for you, and how does it assist you, and what are some pitfalls? Anyway, so that's a lot of questions, but what technology do you use on a daily basis?
Well, obviously I have this podcast I have. So
Mm-hmm.
I have my professional microphone. I have my laptop that I use to distribute the podcast. And on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
well, I would for school I would use the computer or my iPad to type papers because I have to do that a lot.
Yeah.
But and obviously for math, we're getting into more advanced math, so I'm using like graphing calculators and stuff like that. But yeah, there's not too much technology that I use. Although last year there was because of online classes. I would always have to do that kind of stuff. But
Were you using Zoom
technology,
then, or
yes, we were using
okay?
Zoom. Technology definitely does help a lot with school because it just enables me to go ahead and look up an answer that I don't know in 5 seconds, and then I'll know the answer. So it's
Yeah,
helpful.
well, definitely. And I think sometimes, maybe this is how I asked the question, but technology really is more than just digital technology, which we sometimes say. So it's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. Be like, well,
Mhm.
almost everything is technology, right? So like I've got a pen here. This is technology. I've got like a marker. They're saying, oh, it's
Yeah.
a green marker, so it actually is cutting out my face. That's funny. This is a blue marker. You can actually see it, but the green one obviously will just like make
Yeah.
anything behind it
Blend in with the
disappear.
background.
Yeah, yeah, but this Xbox controller I've got here,
Yeah.
all of this is technology. Your phone, obviously a Chromebook, an iPad, like you were talking about, the webcam that we're using, this microphone, these headphones, even the material that the shirt is made out of, it that took technology to make. And this is like nylon fibers or whatever, and that's not just like typical cotton weaving, right? So all of that can be considered technology. So yeah, what do you think? Obviously there are a ton of technological applications that you use all the time, but what do you think has the potential to be the greatest, or maybe what do you just like personally the most, Lucy?
Out of all the technology I use,
Yeah, like what's your favorite technological tool?
well, I'd have to say probably my earbuds. They're just I'm using them right now to do this interview.
Yeah.
It's just because I focus a lot better when I'm doing my schoolwork when I have something to listen to. Either if it's just
Mm-hmm.
instrumental music, that's fine. It helps me so much.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite thing. I definitely use these pretty much daily to
Okay.
do just to listen to music or to do my schoolwork or anything like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's some tasks that I have to have complete silence for, but I think you're right. For the majority of the tasks, for me, I love using these headphones. These are like Sony. What are they? WH-1000 XM3s, whatever. Anyway, they're a lot of fun, and they really bring out all the music and really help me focus. So you're right. I think when I think about my own experience with public school, a lot of times, music players were like against the rules, and teachers were trying to punish kids for using their CD players or whatever while doing their work. And I think you're right. I mean, I think there's something kind of innate about music that can help us learn, right? So that is interesting that you say like that's your kind of favorite piece. That is really interesting. I want to ask you a little bit about your future path and kind of where you're headed. So, I have interns, working with us who are, 13 years of age and older, and they are very much interested in technology and in coding specifically. But where do you see yourself? Your education sounds like has been kind of a generalist education where you're learning. On your podcast, you talk a lot about like U.S. documents and founding fathers and constitutional principles and minimum wage. So a lot of like kind of political stuff, history. You said you do math a lot and reading. So it sounds like you're getting a pretty good kind of well-rounded education as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to run you through a test or anything, but have you thought about different careers and different job opportunities and skills that you want to get? What is your future like? What are you aiming at?
I have actually thought about that, and it's funny because what I want to do when I grow up is a job in something to do with cybersecurity
Okay.
or
Oh, wow.
something like that. So yeah, something to do with coding, which is what your podcast is about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely that qualifies for sure.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you're doing now to prepare for that? And I feel like your dad like asking you like, "All right, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Well, over the summer, I plan to just start immersing myself in coding. Maybe
Okay.
try to get started in Python or something like that.
Okay, right on. Well, awesome. Yeah, Python is such a great language to get started in. The syntax is a little bit easier, very pretty much logical, and you can do it from almost anywhere. So I'd highly recommend that. Are you familiar with Scratch at all?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, so Scratch is what we use. Actually, I can send you one of our free courses after the episode's done. I guess everybody can take this free course. I don't think I've ever announced it on the podcast, so might as well do it now. But we have a course on coderkids.com. If you click on the on-demand button up at the top right, there it takes you to our Teachable website, and you can. The first lesson there is free, and you get to own it forever. So no kind of like time subscription. It's just like you get infinite access to it. Anyway, so Scratch is a great language to start out with, and it basically is a drag and drop coding language where you learn a lot of the fundamentals, the building blocks, the basics of the logic, and then you can apply that logic to later languages, right? Like Python, Java, C++, whatever you want to go to. Yeah. So I'd highly recommend it, Lucy. And of course, like I'll send you the link, and we can get you that. But that's basically how you get there is coderkids.com. But that's super exciting. Can you tell me the thought process behind why cybersecurity is interesting to you, and why is that? Is there some draw there?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be cybersecurity. I thought that would be a good field. I got advice that would be a good field to go into. I just wanted to do something in computer science because it's becoming so much more relevant nowadays. And it's just, if you know how to code and still like be able to talk to people and be good at it, then you're gonna go places.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, certainly there are plenty of websites out there that could use better security, and certainly with databases and all the hacks going around, I mean, it sounds like that would not be a bad bet, certainly for at least median wage and whatnot. And that is pretty cool. I did want to ask you, this is something that I've heard in some homeschool groups, but maybe not as much in others, which is the ability to see what's going on in the actual marketplace. Like you said in your podcast, you're free for more of the day, and you have a little bit more free time. So I'm curious, do you ever use that free time to visit businesses and do internships or do shadowing or Um, anyway, does it open up the job market, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Um, it Yeah, it does actually. So the thing is, I actually have gotten a bit into that. I have an online clothing store.
Okay.
It's called Burrito Family Store.
Okay.
BurritoFamilyStore.com.
We'll
So
link it. We'll link
yeah,
it in the show
I've
notes.
yeah, I got into that last year.
Okay.
So it definitely freed up a lot of job opportunities. I just kind of got into it right away, not being an intern or
Oh,
shadowing
wow.
anybody or anything like that. I kind of just started it, and it's been we sell a couple things every now and then. So it actually has worked out pretty nicely.
That is a lot of fun. And do you think, your chances for entrepreneurship are just higher, or your inclination? Do you think that's like mainly because of your upbringing, or because of the opportunities you have doing homeschool, or what do you think?
Feel like it's probably both because my dad has always been like he's always listened to podcasts of people who are entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always like given me ideas for opportunities to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And also, of course, being homeschooled, I can work on my own time, and if I get done fast, I have so much free time to just take a look into whatever I want to do.
Right. Well, that is super awesome. Um, yeah. Well, this is really cool. Related a little bit to what you're planning to do in the future. Do you think that your educational path will lead you to college, or just right around college and straight into a job, um, or like into a trade school, or some kind of mix? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I am right now, as of right now, I am planning to go to college so I can get some sort of degree in computer science and
Okay.
then go into the world and get a job in computers. So currently, that's what my plan is.
Currently, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, we have a lot of the people that work for Cutter Kids. Obviously, are um, computer science students, right? Whether they be
Yeah.
from the University of Houston or elsewhere. So certainly, when that time comes, you should apply, Lacey. That'd be great.
Mhm.
We definitely will have already done an interview, although not technically a job interview. But yeah, that sounds really exciting. Some people, and these are kind of the rare exception, skip college, just kind of altogether. They've coded things and
Yeah.
they've created their own portfolio, and they're able to go straight into the workforce. Now, there is, something to be said for the college experience and for the educational opportunity that it is regardless. But I know that you were also talking about cost benefit analysis when it comes to homeschooling in general, right? So,
Mhm.
that's obviously a decision that has to be made when you start thinking about the price tag on certain things, and what
Yeah.
it's really worth. And yeah, so I do think there will probably be a few more students like you, who might be a little bit younger than you, but maybe inspired by this homeschool trend. And we'll see kind of what effects that has in the future. I'm curious to see what that is. We're really, really behind the idea of change in education and all types of experiments, and then seeing how those play out and seeing if they're fruitful. So well, that is super super cool. If you could say anything to, like I said, moms or dads who are thinking about homeschooling, or kids who are their parents are thinking about homeschooling them, what would you say?
Well, I would say just I did kind of touch on this before, but mostly just don't be afraid of what's coming because you might I know a lot of parents will think, well, I send my kid to public school because I don't think I'd be a good teacher. Well, you just gotta kind of just believe that you can be because ultimately that's just what it comes down to. The parent has to believe that they can homeschool their kid and be good at it, and ultimately it'll probably be better for the kid because the parents will be directly involved in homeschooling them, and they'll know exactly what they're gonna be learning. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, you know, to those parents out there, look, educational decisions are difficult, okay? And
Yes.
my parents agonized whether to put me in homeschool or we didn't have charter schools when I was a kid, at least not locally. And so I did homeschool for a couple of years, and I did public school, and then one year I actually did mixed. It was like the school let me do like gym and home ec. Ironically, I did home ec at public school, and then I did academic subjects at home. So that was kind of fun. And I learned to bake and everything at school. So that was like a little bit, and how to sew, actually. I still remember how to sew. So, we know these decisions are difficult, and, we're only advocating in as much as like we're trying to get the word out. But ultimately, those decisions are really sacred and something that, you need to make with, husband, wife, and child, and in consultation with teachers and weighing all the options. And that's such a tough decision. So my heart goes out to you. Look, and the truth is, I have not made up my mind about what's going to happen to my son, who's a year and a half old. And, my wife and I need to, seriously sit down and talk about it and think about it and see what the best options are available for him. So, regardless, we support obviously whatever decisions that you are making, but hope that this podcast helps just a little bit, shed some light and about technology, obviously how to use that properly in an educational context, and then also different educational opportunities and philosophy. Excuse me, cracking voice there. Educational philosophies that are out there. So thank you so much for coming on the program again, Lucy. And like I said, we'll put in the show notes homeschoolburrito.com, your store page, and then how they can reach you. But thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next episode, we'll see you later.